Hi, this is RN Bhaskar from BKBB, which is an acronym for Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. Welcome to the second week of our new chapter, which is on news, a daily broadcast on weekdays. And this is actually not news, but news behind the news. Last week was fantastic. We learned how to become better and better, and with your suggestions, we'll go better even now. And as always, we try to cover 2 to 3 to 4 headlines that we think are important and which we would like to discuss in front of you. And joining me are my two co-anchors, Katya Naidu and Isha. And the titles that we will cover today are varied. You'll like them. And they are Reliance Retail slows down, says a report. Now, this is unusual, but we'll hear about it. Then you have automakers from India who are planning to set up shop in America. And the third one is that the government rolls back its plans of having a policy on AI. And let's do the first story first. Can we have that story from Katya?
Thank you, sir. So it's very interesting. So it's very rare that many negative news comes out about one of the biggest companies in India. But the news says that, Reliance Retail is actually slowing down. It's a Bloomberg report. It claims that there have been layoffs, there have been rollback of funds, and any new hires have to go through the top echelons to make sure that, very little expansion has taken place. And all this is probably coming out from the fact that there has been talk of a valuation cut of Reliance Retail business from what it was earlier when they last raised funds from private deals. So that valuation has been cut down, and the reasons are very simple. Obviously, there is a slowdown, large scale slowdown, consumption slowdown. So it will hit the biggest player. Reliance Retail claims to have around 19,000 outlets. Obviously, it will hit them because it has varied. It has luxury, it has apparel, it has jewelry, it has grocery. So it's across the bridge. So all these consumption themes are getting hit in some way or another. So, and more importantly, they have done extensive expansion. They've got over 80 luxury brands. It's not just luxury, high street. A lot of these brands have been brought in. There are a couple of luxury malls also in BKC. So all these seem to be have burdened the balance sheet. And now the problem is they want to go for an IPO, this year or next year, whenever it works out. And they, to make the company leaner and slimmer, they are actually going in for what it's pretty much doing what most startups are doing: roll back some of their plans and tighten and uh, clean the balance sheet. And Reliance brands also, they've brought out a lot of brands: Independence Groceries, Campa Cola. So a lot of these plans are also getting some amount of rollback. Back to you, sir. What do you think about it? Do you think it's a good idea to roll back in a market like
Well,
this?
if you don't roll back, you lose a lot more money. And money matters for any group, whether it's a Reliance or an Adani or any other group. But yes, there is a problem there because you can see that you have many people being laid off. And at these times when a person is laid off, it can be more chaotic and more painful because the market is already facing a slowdown in terms of employment. So when I get a job and I'm told from tomorrow, you don't have to come, I'm distressed because anticipating a job with a large group like Reliance, I've already made my purchase, I've taken an EMI on a motorcycle or on something else. So yes, the pain is visible. And it'll be important if Reliance can get back into the swing of things and make sure that employment and the brands both survive as strong entities in the marketplace. You're right. And that takes me to the second story. Could I have Isha?
Hello, good morning. Hope you're having a great start to the day. Thank you for tuning in today. Today, I'm going to be bringing you a headline from Financial Express titled Auto Part Makers Plan US Expansion to Bypass Tariffs. So, in response to the reciprocal tariffs on auto exports into the US imposed by Trump, Indian automotive component makers with business in the US markets are considering setting up manufacturing units or expand their existing facilities into the US. US is the largest export market for Indian auto parts, accounting for about 28% of the total shipment. In the first half of the financial year 2025, India exported 3.1 billion USD worth of auto components, a 7% year-on-year growth, according to the data by the Automotive Component Manufacturers Association of India. Therefore, Indian auto companies are getting increasingly worried about the increased tariff imposition. Presently, major companies like RBS Group, JK Tires, Samvardhana Motherson, Sona Comstar, and Uno Minda have plants in Mexico where they assemble the vehicles before exporting them into the US. Shifting operations, however, is not something that can be done overnight. It will require extremely large investments, and companies are still assessing how the tariff war will play out and whether they will receive support from the local clients. Because at the end of the day, the reason US based clients were purchasing from India was because there was cheap labor making reducing the cost for them. But if we were to set up plants in the US, that would increase the cost significantly, which means that they might fall back on their deals and start getting their components from a local US based dealer. However, for other companies like Motherson and Mahindra, who have well-established US-based plants already, the tariff war might just have positive impact on their businesses. That's all from my side. Back to you, sir. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Isha. Great piece of news. And yes, many automobile manufacturers are planning to set up units in USA to escape tariffs. But as you rightly pointed out, the US is undergoing two cost escalations. Because of tariffs, there's a product cost escalation. And because of a blockage on immigration, you have a labor cost escalation. So with double inflation, will it be viable for new manufacturers to set up plants in the USA? And that's the first problem. There's a second problem. When you set up a plant in the USA, you have capital costs. But then the third advantage that Indian entrepreneurs see. Setting up plants overseas today is more profitable than setting up plants in India. India, the market conditions are bad, and many Indian promoters are setting up plants overseas because when they convert their earnings into dollars, they get more rupees back home because the rupee keeps weakening. So there's an advantage in setting up plants overseas, and that's why let us see how this plays out. Thanks, Isha, immensely. And now let me go to my own story, which I want to talk about. And the story has been talked about very cogently, comprehensively in two newspapers, Mint and the Indian Express. The government has decided to roll back some of its plans on how to clear AI services, artificial intelligence services. NASSCOM has been vehemently opposed to the government's plans. AI as you know, artificial intelligence, but AI is a major driver for things like algorithms on which most OTTs work, on which most of programming works on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And the government has not been very pleased with these platforms because it can see a lot of anti-government information coming on these platforms. The government had planned to control these OTTs also. But then Trump came to power and the government's rolled back those plans too. So you have a situation where the government has realized that Indian exports will suffer if it brings in any controls on AI. Because traditional work that software companies did, IT companies did, are over with AI. So Indian companies have to adapt to AI. If the government decides to control AI, the biggest revenue earner for India, which is the services sector, which is software and IT, could also suffer. So the government has decided to roll back. It doesn't know what to do. It has to live with the ugly truth for the government that it has to accept AI and OTTs the way they are. And let's see how it really works out, because AI will be linked to OTTs also. And the broadcast bill. Both of them have been stayed for the time being. Let's see. And that brings me to the end of my news. But thank you very much for being here today. It makes a lot of difference to us, because this is our second week and we want you to be with us all the time. And yes, while I'm talking, I can see some questions coming in. Let me try to address some of them. The first question is, will Indian automakers be profitable in the USA? Good question. It's a question that's already been taken up, where the Indian promoter who sets up a plant in USA today is doing this under very formidable conditions. You have inflation, you have an unpredictable USA market, and you have the disadvantage of relocation. Will it help? Will it not help? I don't know. But it's a tricky situation. Each company will have to study this carefully. Many of the Indians that set up plants in Mexico find Mexico is a hot potato for the USA, because they want to impose tariffs in Mexico. So you go from a low-cost area to a high-cost area. Will it help? I don't know. Let's see. And there's another question. Will Reliance Retail slowdown benefit players like Amazon and Flipkart? Well, as Katya rightly mentioned, the slowdown is unusual, unexpected for a group like Reliance, but it is there. And it's evident from the layoffs that are taking place. Whenever there's a layoff, a new generation is a little scared in taking up jobs there. They'd rather take an employment opportunity with an Amazon or a Flipkart. So there's an advantage of employment. There's an advantage of a customer who suddenly finds something's disappearing from the Reliance shelves. So yes, it's going to benefit competitors, but that is what the market is all about. It's about competition. May the best man win. And yes, there's a third question that's coming. Will the AI bill rollback help both education and the broadcast bill? I think so. One of the major beneficiaries of AI will be education. And any government interference with AI could affect and slow down the way education harnesses AI to become better and leapfrog over 7 decades of little attention being paid to primary education. You can change primary education by creating avatars. You can change primary education where the avatars speak to the student in his own language at his own pace. And the student finds the avatar a simpler, personalized teacher better than the teacher he has in the classroom. Of course, there'll be a pushback. The teacher won't like it because it marginalizes the teacher. The government won't like it because it marginalizes the government also. So it can influence education. It can influence every sector of life. But it's good the government has rolled back its plans. And yes, that is why I would like to finish my question answer today, because there'll be more and more coming along. And yes, please click the subscribe button. Please click the like button. It helps our algorithms. It helps us grow. And it is nice to know that some people like some of the things that we talk about. We like reading comments. And last year, you were very good to us. You talked about how we had improved, and we hope to keep that impression intact by improving even further. And yes, tune in tomorrow. It's a second day of the second week. See you tomorrow once again. Take care. Have a wonderful day.